Welcome to the lesson on theoretical principles of qualitative analysis. We have already two more sessions on this. One is exclusively for analysis of cations and other one analysis of anions part 1. So this is part 2. The objective is to understand the theoretical principles involved in qualitative analysis of anions in mixture of salts. In previous session on analysis of anions part 1, we have discussed separation of anions from cations by using sodium carbonate extract, how to prepare sodium carbonate extract, and how sodium carbonate extract is facilitating test of anions in solution, and then what are interfering anions, how do they interfere, when do they interfere, what is the chemistry responsible behind interference of these anions, and how to remove those interfering anions. The portion remaining is the chemistry of special tests employed to detect combination of anions. What do I mean by combination of anions? Let's say, for example, we have in a mixture nitrate and bromide. Both are responding to sulfuric acid, concentrated sulfuric acid. So in such case, how to identify bromide and nitrate separately? So in this session, the learning outcomes are how to distinguish anions, those who interfere with the taste of each other, and the chemistry of special tests for combination of anions. A mixture of salts are given. We need to identify what are the anions present and cations present. In this lesson, we will discuss analysis of anions only, and that too analysis of combination of anions. Certain combinations we will be discussing are carbonate and sulfite, halides, nitrite and nitrate, sulfide and sulfate, nitrate and bromide, nitrate, bromide and iodide, sulfide, sulfate, sulfite, thiosulfate, oxalate and carbonate, oxalate and fluoride. All these combinations we are going to study. When mixture contains carbonate and sulfite, how to distinguish, how to identify these two anions? The challenge is both these carbonate and sulfite, they respond to dilute H2SO4. Both of them turn the lime water milky because carbonate releases carbon dioxide, sulfite releases sulfur dioxide, both turns lime water milky. So in such case, how to identify both the anions? By simply adding dilute sulfuric acid and applying the evolved gas to lime water is not going to solve the purpose. So we need to employ special tests for this. Take the mixture, add dilute sulfuric acid, add solid potassium dichromate and warm the content. Pass the evolved gas into lime water. If lime water turns milky, then it is due to carbon dioxide. And if solid potassium dichromate, which we have added with the mixture and which appears orange or yellowish orange in color, if that changes its color to greenish color, then it is due to sulfite, because SO2 gas which gets released from sulfite, it reduces dichromate to chromous salt, and that is responsible for greenish color. So already what we have said is arranged in this scheme. The mixture contains both carbonate and sulfite. Add dilute H2SO4 and potassium dichromate in solid form. warm the content and pass the gas through lime water. If lime water turns milky, then it is carbonate, and if green color is there in test tube, then it is due to sulfite. And if carbonate and oxalate are there in the mixture, both carbonate and oxalate respond to concentrated H2SO4. Although carbonate only respond to dilute H2SO4, which gives carbon dioxide gas when treated with dilute H2SO4. Oxalate doesn't respond to dilute H2SO4. It doesn't give carbon dioxide when treated with dilute H2SO4, but both of them give carbon dioxide when treated with concentrated sulfuric acid. So how to identify both the anions when they are present together? So you take the mixture, add dilute H2SO4, warm the content and pass the evolved gas through lime water. If lime water turned milky when we are treating the mixture with dilute H2SO4, then it is due to carbonate. Keep on heating the content till there is no more effervescence. That means no more carbonate is there, which is releasing carbon dioxide in form of effervescence. Once carbonate content is decomposed, then add manganese dioxide. If there is fresh effervescence arising, then that is due to oxalate. So that is same procedure is arranged in the scheme. The mixture containing both the anions and add dilute H2SO4, warm the content, pass the gas into lime water. If lime water turned milky, that is due to carbonate, and heat the content till there is no more effervescence. Add manganese dioxide, and effervescence arises, then it is due to oxalate. And if oxalate and fluoride are present together, both are responding to calcium chloride test. Both gives white precipitate. Oxalate gives white precipitate in form of calcium oxalate. Fluoride gives white precipitate in form of calcium fluoride. So this addition of calcium chloride to acidified soda extract is not going to solve the purpose. So we need to employ a special test to identify both the anions. Take soda extract, acidify it with dilute HNO3, then add silver nitrate into it. We will get a precipitate, and the precipitate will be of silver oxalate. Silver fluoride will not be precipitated, it will be water soluble. So it will help us in separating oxalate and fluoride. Filter the precipitate. The residue is silver oxalate. Treat the residue with dilute H2SO4 and add few drops of potassium permanganate. If it decolorizes potassium permanganate due to redox reaction between oxalate and permanganate, then this is oxalate is confirmed. Take the filtrate, add barium nitrate into it. If we get white precipitate of barium fluoride, then fluoride is confirmed. For fluoride also you can employ the test of you take the filtrate, add concentrated sulfuric acid, and insert a moistened glass rod, and there will be a gelatinous appearance on the glass rod. That also confirms the presence of fluoride. We have arranged the procedure in a scheme. The mixture containing soda extract of the mixture containing fluoride and oxalate, add dilute HNO3 and silver nitrate, filter it. The residue contains silver oxalate, add dilute sulfuric acid and potassium permanganate, warm the content. If potassium permanganate is decolorized, then that is due to oxalate. And then take the filtrate, add barium nitrate into it. If white precipitate we are getting, that is due to fluoride. If nitrate and nitrite both are present together, then how to test? Since both nitrate and nitrite they respond to brown ring test, so brown ring test is not going to solve the purpose in identifying both nitrate and nitrite. So how to do this? So we will employ a test here. Take the mixture, soda extract, acidify it using dilute sulfuric acid, then add potassium iodide and starch solution. Appearance of blue color confirms nitrite. Then to test nitrate, what we need to do? We need to decompose the nitrite present in the mixture first, then convert the nitrate into nitrite. So how to do that? To decompose nitrite, acidify soda extract with acetic acid, boil with excess ammonium chloride till there is no blue color is appearing when we add potassium iodide and starch. That means there is no more nitrite present in the mixture. All the nitrite are converted to nitrogen gas when we heated the mixture in presence of ammonium chloride. That can be checked. If there is no blue color we are getting by adding potassium iodide and starch, that means no more nitrite is there. At that stage, add zinc dust and acetic acid. Boil the content, that will convert nitrate into nitrite. And then apply the test of nitrite, that is add potassium iodide and starch, and if we get blue color, and that confirms nitrite. The same procedure has been arranged in a scheme. The soda extract of nitrate and nitrite, acidified with dilute H2SO4, add potassium iodide and starch, the blue color confirms nitrite. Take the soda extract, acidify it with acetic acid, boil with excess ammonium chloride. This boiling we are doing to convert nitrite, to decompose nitrite into nitrogen gas. And then check whether the nitrite has been fully decomposed or not through potassium iodide and starch test. Once the nitrite is decomposed, that means no more blue color we are getting after adding potassium iodide and starch. At that stage, add zinc dust and acetic acid, boil the content. This we are doing to convert nitrate into nitrite. Then apply the same test which we have employed for nitrite. Add starch, add potassium iodide and starch. If we get blue color, that confirms the presence of nitrate. And if all these halides are present together, chloride, bromide and iodide, then how to test? Acidify soda extract with dilute nitric acid, then add chloroform or carbon disulfide or carbon tetrachloride, an organic solvent. Then add few drops of chlorine water or few drops of concentrated nitric acid, because this also solves the purpose of an oxidizing agent. If the organic layer, that is chloroform or carbon tetrachloride or carbon disulfide layer turned violet, then iodide is confirmed. If violet color is replaced by reddish brown or orange color, then bromide is there. Remember, if iodide and bromide are there, first we will get violet color for iodide, then violet color will be disappeared and reddish brown or orange color will appear. That will confirm the presence of bromide. Then to test the presence of chloride, take another portion of soda extract of the mixture, acidify it by adding dilute HNO3, then add excess silver nitrate solution into it, filter, then wash the residue till no sign of silver ion is there. What does it suggest? When all three halides are present and you are adding silver nitrate into it, that will form all precipitates of silver chloride, silver bromide and silver iodide. You wash the residue till there is no more silver ion present. Now take the residue, add ammonium carbonate solution into it, shake and filter. What will happen? From this ammonium carbonate, ammonia which will be generated because of hydrolysis, this ammonia will make silver chloride precipitate into only soluble. That means only silver chloride out of all these three precipitates will be soluble in ammonia. Silver bromide and silver iodide will not be soluble, that will remain in form of the residue. Only silver chloride will be soluble in ammonia after adding ammonium carbonate solution. Then you filter it. Take the filtrate. The filtrate is containing soluble form of silver chloride. Then add potassium bromide into it. If there will be a yellowish white precipitate, that yellowish white precipitate will be because of silver bromide, and that confirms the presence of chloride. The procedure, what has been already said, is arranged in this scheme. The soda extract of all the three halides, acidify with dilute HNO3, add an organic solvent, that is carbon tetrachloride, then add an oxidizing agent chlorine water or concentrated few drops of concentrated HNO3. Then organic layer turned violet, that is due to iodide. Then violet layer will be violet color will be disappeared, and reddish brown or orange color will appear, that will indicate bromide. And then take soda extract, acidify with dilute HNO3, add excess silver nitrate, and then filter. Wash the residue till there is no sign of silver ion, and take the residue, add ammonium carbonate into it, and then filter. In the filtrate we will get soluble silver chloride in ammonia, and then add potassium bromide into it. It will give us silver bromide precipitate because of low solubility product of silver bromide. The silver bromide will be precipitated, and that will confirm the presence of chloride ion in the mixture. If chloride and bromide ion are present together in a mixture, then apply chromyl chloride test for chloride. How do you do that? Take your solid mixture, add solid potassium dichromate into it, and add concentrated sulfuric acid, and then warm the content. Pass the chromyl chloride gas into another test tube containing sodium hydroxide solution to form chromate solution. Acidify the chromate solution with acetic acid, then add lead acetate solution. Formation of yellow precipitate of lead chromate confirms the presence of chloride. And to test bromide, apply layer test. The procedure already has been said, and the same procedure what we have said is arranged in this scheme. If chloride is present in presence of iodide, then in that case acidify soda extract with dilute nitric acid, then add excess silver nitrate solution. What will happen? Silver nitrate will precipitate silver chloride and silver iodide. Then filter. Reject the filtrate. Wash the precipitate with dilute ammonia solution. What will happen? This dilute ammonia will dissolve the silver chloride precipitate. Silver iodide will not be dissolved. So filter it again. In the filtrate, only we have silver chloride in soluble form in ammonia. If we add dilute HNO3, then what will happen? Silver chloride will reappear in form of white precipitate, and that confirms the presence of chloride. And to test iodide, apply layer test. If there is nitrate present in presence of bromide and iodide, how to test? Nitrate in presence of bromide and iodide cannot be tested through brown ring test. The liberation of free halogens, bromide and iodide also liberates brown vapors when treated with concentrated sulfuric acid. So it is not possible to utilize this test. So you need to apply a test, special test for this, to identify nitrate in presence of bromide and iodide. Acidify soda extract with acetic acid, then add zinc dust and boil the solution so that the nitrate will be converted to nitrite, and then add potassium iodide and starch. If blue color is there, then that will be due to nitrate. And this test will not be hindered, not even interfere by the presence of bromide and iodide. And then apply layer test to test bromide and iodide. The last combination is sulfide, sulfite, sulfate and thiosulfate. If all these are present together, although we will get only 3 anions, but let us study all these 4 combinations, the chemistry behind this, how to separate these anions if they are present together in a mixture. Let us take the soda extract of the mixture containing all these 4 anions. Then add freshly prepared cadmium carbonate solution into it. What will happen? The cadmium sulfite will be precipitated, sulfide CDS will be precipitated. Rest will remain in solution. So by filtering we can separate sulfide in form of cadmium sulfide. In filtrate we have sulfite, sulfate and thiosulfate. Then add barium chloride solution into it. What will happen? Addition of barium chloride will form precipitate of barium sulfite and sulfate. Thiosulfate will not form precipitate with barium chloride. So again by filtration we can separate sulfate and sulfite from thiosulfate. So in the residue we will get barium sulfate and barium sulfite. To the residue add dilute HCl in excess and filter. Dilute HCl will not be able to dissolve barium sulfate, so if you filter that, barium sulfate can be separated in form of residue. In filtrate we will get barium sulfite which is soluble in dilute HCl. Add bromine into this barium this solution, and that will convert, this bromine will convert sulfite into sulfate and will get barium sulfate precipitate, and that's how we will be able to separate sulfite. And this filtrate here will contain sulfite, thiosulfate. You acidify with excess hydrochloric acid and warm, white precipitate of thiosulfate will be separated, and that's how we will be able to separate all the 4 anions. And then the portion remaining is the detailed chemistry behind test of each anions and each cations, that will come off in sessions later. Thank you very much for your attention.